Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to address an issue that I found that some people have been confused on. And for whatever reasons, maybe they just haven't explored this themselves and, you know, just not understanding the scriptures on this. Um, and I know a while back I had to, really do some digging and stuff and to find this. And I researched it again this morning and the thing is, some people wonder when is the new moon. We see different views. Actually, when there is no sighting of the moon, in between that time, um, when you can't see it until you get the first sliver, but that's not a new moon. And when I wrote this article on the blog, I didn't necessarily address that because it didn't seem real important. Most people are struggling over the question of, is the new moon at the first sliver or at the full moon? There's things that happen at both. And in brief, I have found and continue to find as I research more that the new moon is in fact the first sliver. There are people who are perplexed on this as to if the new moon is on the first sliver or at the full moon. The Bible has our answers. I want to first begin with these known facts. Psalm 104:19 says, He made the moon for appointed times. The sun knows it's going down. So this is important. And appointed times in Hebrew is moedim. Singular is moed. And when we start understanding a little bit more of the Hebrew, it increases our understanding and tends to clear things up more, because we're, reading things and gaining information from sources that were written, thousands of years ago. So we are trying to understand the mindset back then, because especially, living in America, in these days, our understanding is different than what it would be, let's say, in Israel. The new moon in astronomy is the first lunar phase when the moon and sun have the same elliptic longitude. At this phase, the lunar disk is not visible to the naked eye except when it is silhouetted against the sun during a solar eclipse. So you see the first sliver at that point. That's what that means. Because the moon is in front of the sun and outlined on one side, by the sun behind it, just as you see a little part of it. The original meaning of the term new moon, which is still sometimes used in calendrical non-astronomical contexts, is the first visible crescent of the moon after conjunction with the sun. This thin, waxing crescent is shortly and faintly visible as the moon gets lower in the western sky after sunset, with the smallest arc angle possible between 5 to 7%. The exact time and even the date of the appearance of the new moon by this definition is influenced by the geographical location of the observer. The first crescent marks the beginning of the month. During the 1st century AD, the day of the new moon was clearly determined by eyewitness observation, when at least 2 witnesses had observed the new moon in the west just after sunset. That day, beginning with that sunset, would be declared the new moon day, The new moon was declared when the new crescent was first seen in the west after the conjunction. The Jewish Talmud is very clear on this point. The new moon originally was fixed by astronomical calculators, but was solemnly proclaimed after witnesses had testified to the reappearance of the crescent of the moon. At the end of each month, the members of the High Court, which was the Sanhedrin, gathered in a courtyard in Yerushalayim named Beit Yazek. I'm probably not saying that right. Where they waited to receive the testimony of two reliable witnesses. They then sanctified the new moon. If the moon's crescent was not seen on the last day of the month, typically like the 30th, the new moon was automatically celebrated on the next day, which would have been considered the 31st, because and typically during the biblical monthly cycle, a month usually didn't go past 29 days. Notice what Revelation 12, 1 through 5 says. Now a great sign was seen in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, under her feet the moon, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and about to give birth, and she screamed in the agony of her labor. She gave birth to a son, a male child, the one who will rule all the nations with a staff of iron. This is from the Jewish New Testament. If an astronomer were to read this passage in the Bible, he would automatically think of the constellation Virgo at the point in time when the sun's path in the heavens crosses through her body. This event always occurs in mid-October, the exact time of Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets, which is the new moon of the 7th month. The Feast of Trumpets can occur as many as 29 days after September 21 to 23, which is autumnal equinox at the equator, or as few as the same day if the equinox and the new moon crescent occur on the same day. Therefore, mid-October is a very typical time for this Feast of Yahovah. Yeshua, the Messiah, was not born on December 25th. Furthermore, in mid-October, at the time of the new moon crescent, we see this phenomenon in the western sky soon after sunset. I'm hoping that this little bit's going to clear a lot of things up. Not just new moon, but showing that Messiah wasn't even born December 25th. And we know that practice of Christmas, just to interject here a little bit, was a compromise between paganism and Scripture. And Messiah didn't celebrate his birth, neither did his disciples. He taught us to show his death until he comes. The new moon in the beginning of the month is the first crescent. The middle of the month is a full moon. Psalm 81:4 in the TLV says, "Blow the shofar at the new moon, at the full moon, for the day of our festival." And some of the other versions, this verse appears in Psalm 81:3, so it just depends on which version you're reading from. From the linguistic evidence, the new moon of Psalm 81 is not a full moon, and in no way makes the new moon and full moon to be the same lunar phase. Verse 4 is literally translated as follows: "Sound on the new moon the ram's horn, on the full moon for the day of our festival." It is describing two separate events, with the first occurring at the beginning of the month, which is the new moon crescent, and the second in the middle of the month, which is the full moon. To what period of the year does the psalm refer? The answer is not found merely in the fact that the ram's horn or the shofar was blown, because this instrument was generally blown during rejoicing. You can see these in other passages of Scripture. 1 Chronicles 15:28, 2 Chronicles 15:14, Psalms 98:6. This question is answered by the rest of Psalms 81. Verses 3 through 7 show the time of year to which this psalm refers. Sound the ram's horn on the new moon and on the full moon for the day of our feast, for it is a statute for Israel, a judgment of the God of Jacob. He appointed it as a witness in Joseph when he went out against Egypt. I heard a language I didn't know. I removed his shoulder from labor, and his hands were freed from the basket. In trouble you called, and I delivered you. I answered you in a covering of thundercloud. I tested you at the waters of Meribah. Selah. It's paraphrased. I truly hope this clears up any confusion for people reading this. Remember that Scripture interprets Scripture, and so we need to take several passages into consideration and dig deeper into the meaning of things in Hebrew. Back in the days of Yeshua, things were far clearer, so it's important to tap into that time period the best we can and understand things the way they did. I hope this blog continues to be a blessing to you and that Yeshua will continue to add light to your understanding. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and as I am able to put up more information, you should be able to receive a notice. I want to bless everyone and glorify the name of our Father in heaven and His Son Yeshua the Messiah. Thanks for watching. Today is Yom Teruah, by the way, and it is the first day of the 7th biblical month, commonly known as Tishri on the Jewish calendar. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this day. And remember, get out there and blow that shofar. God bless.